Hello everybody, we are back once again with another Draft Concepts video. Today we're going to be going over something a little less draft specific and more something that you can apply game to game, but definitely something very useful for your games in the upcoming season. And you can expect a couple more of these videos coming out as we get closer and closer to the start of the season. But today, as you can probably see, we're going to be going over what it means to identify your win cons and lose cons. Now, starting off with what a win con looks like. It's pretty intuitive for the most part. I'm sure you can give a pretty good guess as to what this means in a loose sense, alright? And that's kind of part of the problem, right? It's a little hard to define, and that's a lot of the reason for that is because it changes a lot during the game itself. But one of the advantages for draft is that you know what your opponent's Pokemon are capable of beforehand, which means that planning for what a win con is, right? Like achieving the correct circumstances to win is a little bit easier than it is in other non-draft formats. And it's probably easier to explain if we just go into like a practical example. So let's take a look at this hypothetical matchup from the perspective of the team on the left. Iron Valiant is super well positioned here. With a speed boost, it's able to threaten two of the best Pokemon on the enemy team with one-shots, with both of its stabs, and also it's going to be able to outspeed almost every Choice Scarf Pokemon on the enemy team. But there are some problems with it. While it is very strong, certainly, it's not just going to be a mon you can send out right away and just start one-shotting everything in existence. It doesn't have quite that amount of power. It's more of an end-game cleaner. So, the enemy team does have a lot of mons that are very susceptible to switching in and getting chipped over time. I'm looking at mons like Ogerpon, I'm looking at Tinkaton and Blastoise, stuff like that. So, if you are able to get hazards up and make them stay up throughout the course of the game, something very doable with this spin blocker in Sinistcha, and you get chip on mons like Ogerpon, mons like Tinkaton, mons like Blastoise, if they are suddenly in range of Iron Valiant, it becomes way, way, way scarier when it comes in with a speed boost. And maybe while you did have an answer to it at the start of the game, now you no longer do because everything has taken too much damage. If that is able to be achieved, then Iron Valiant will probably end the game. This is a super common play pattern for Iron Valiant teams, you know? In this scenario, the win con for the team on the left would be something like keep hazards up. Make sure they go up and make sure they stay up. So over the course of a long game, you can achieve this win con and get the chip that you need. Say something unexpected happens, right? Like, what if Iron Valiant gets roared in by Blastoise? You get a little unlucky. Now it's forced out. Blastoise is threatening it, and it doesn't have enough damage to kill it. And now suddenly your Iron Valiant lost its speed boost. Now the win con has to shift. You know, it might be something more of a breaker. Your win con might look something like, okay, now I have to get Iron Val in front of Kingambit safely as much as possible. This is what I mean by it has to shift, right? These things can change very suddenly over the course of a match. Now, moving on to what it means to identify lose cons. This is going to be something much more applicable and relevant to pretty much all of your games. Why is that? In Pokemon, you will have to make a lot of decisions throughout the course of the match. This often comes in the form of sacking a mon or being forced to lose one of your Pokemon. When you are in these spots, and you will be, it is so important that you're able to take stock of what you do or do not need for the future of the match. If you do this consistently, when you are put into these situations, it will be super helpful in making your game way more consistent and will stop you from losing the game way earlier than you would think you would actually lose that game. And I think this game is a pretty good example of what that can look like in practice. Alright, we have this Dialga facing down this Skuntank, and it's going to be locked into Outrage here, but Foul Play is going to come up, and it's going to do decent damage. It's actually going to trade pretty well with his Dialga for the most part. Foul play going to be doing a lot. Now, if you pause the game state, go back a turn. If you pause the game state on this turn right here, with Skuntank at 32, Dialga at 43, in a vacuum, this seems like a pretty great trade for Skuntank, right? I mean, it's Dialga, right? This Mon is generally going to be much, much higher value than Skuntank in a lot of your matches. And it is very threatening. So I feel like in a lot of games, you would for sure take this trade if you are Skuntank. But if we skip forward a few turns, we start to learn that this Zarude set is Tera Ghost Bulk Up, something that's going to be very well positioned into pretty much the entirety of the enemy team. It's not going to be able to, this defensive body press Kommo-o is not going to be able to beat it. It's going to boost in front of Palafin. It's going to taunt Weezing or just shrug off the burn because it's Zarude. And as it turns out, Skuntank is actually quite necessary for this team to not instantly lose the game to Zarude. So something that seems good in the moment was actually a lose con, because now that Skuntank is so low, it's in range of Zarude. That means that nothing on the team is really able to take it on. So damage getting done to Skuntank actually is a lose con for this team, and that's what I mean when I say it's super important to identify what it is so you can avoid it mid-match. Even though it was a good trade in the moment, in isolation, in the larger context of the match, it is actually something that lost this team the game. Let's just jump right into another example. What would you say the win con for the team on the left is? One thing that sticks out to me is that Iron Bundle is very solid offensively here. There's pretty much nothing on the team that's going to be able to resist ice moves, right? The fire type is neutral, and there's a lot of ice weaknesses on the enemy team. But there are some answers offensively for the other side, most notably this Rillaboom and Regieleki, who are both going to be able to take it out before it can attack. So the win con for the team on the right might be something along the lines of, if I can kill Regieleki and Rillaboom, then my Iron Bundle will win the game. You know? A potential lose con for the team on the left could be something like letting our Cresselia take too much damage. Now, why is that? Hawlucha is on the opposing side, very threatening Mon. If it gets Swords Dance off, it does so much damage, and it's going to be able to outspeed everything on the enemy team with Unburden. But we do have a very solid answer. Our Tera Electric Cresselia is going to be very good in stopping that sweep and making sure it doesn't get out of hand, right? But say you're a little loose with Cresselia's HP, it goes down to 50, suddenly it might be in range of like +2 close combat, or it might get crit by close combat because you let it take a little bit too much damage. Now the game is over on the spot. So something like letting damage get done to our Cresselia could be our lose con, could end the game on the spot, even though it might not seem like it. Now, yes, these definitions have been slightly vague. If you've been really paying attention, you probably realize that these two concepts are pretty much the exact same thing, right? Your win con is the same thing as your opponent's lose con, and vice versa, you know? But if there is one piece of practical advice that you should be taking away from this, it's that you should be constantly be taking note of what you do or do not need for future turns, okay? It changes all the time mid-game. Something unexpected will happen, and then suddenly, the game state will flip, and something you thought you might need a few turns ago actually isn't that important anymore. Alright, just please constantly be taking note of what is important and what roles you need your Pokemon to do. A lot of players, when they're starting off, will forget to do this. It's super easy to just autopilot and make a game-losing mistake without even realizing, right? So putting this into practice will make your game way more consistent, and making it into a habit will go super far. I cannot stress this enough. If you make this a habit and you actually go constantly, alright, all the time, in-game, you take note of what you do or do not need, when you are forced to sack mons, and you will be, it happens almost every game, please, please, please make sure that you are well aware of what you do or do not need. So, that is the main takeaway. If you could walk away with just one singular thing, alright, from this video, it would be that. If you have made it this far, thank you very much for watching. Yeah, that's about it. I'm going to be putting out a few more of these videos as we get closer to draft day, which is just about a week away at this point. So yeah, look forward to that coming up.